Alright, about ready to begin now. You good?
Yeah, good enough.
Here's to crime.
Alrighty.
Welcome to Comic Squared with Magen Cubed, aided by her young ward.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Comic Squared with Magen Cubed. As the name would suggest, I am Magen Cubed.
Yes, you are.
This is my meat shield, Blaine.
How's it going?
We're actually recording in daylight.
Strangely.
And while sober, which is because I woke up this morning and thought I was going to die, so I thought, I'm going to stay home from school because...
How's that different from most days?
Well, most days...
It's like existential, but this is physical.
Well, yeah, like most of the days I just lay there consumed by ennui, but today I thought, no, I'm
oh, you cannot start the day French.
No, bitch, you met me? You done this recently?
No,
Every day is French.
Yeah, we start every day French. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I woke up, couldn't hold my head up, couldn't form complete sentences, and I was cold. Yeah, I'm not sure how well this is going to go. I could fall asleep mid-podcast, and if so, I apologize.
Which, if you do, I am not editing it out. Your snores, I'm just going to let it ride for like 5-10 minutes and then wake you up.
Whatever, man. Oh, I can get no shame in my game. Anyway, so, right, news of the day. You saw the, like everyone's talking about it. Came out, 2-3 days ago, I think?
I think so, 2-3 days ago.
Yeah.
The Daredevil teaser trailer for the Netflix series.
And I really, as a rule, I try not to really consider, teaser trailers news. I know I said that after... talking about the Fantastic Four teaser trailers news last week.
Yeah, but we're actually interested about this one.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. For those of you who don't know, obviously Netflix, starting in April?
Yeah, starting in April. April 10th.
April 10th, is running I believe a 13-episode series starring Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock.
Daredevil.
Yes. We also have Rosario Dawson as Claire Temple, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk.
Sweet, I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, I know. Eldon Henson.
He plays the best villains.
Yep. Eldon Henson is Foggy Nelson, and Deborah Ann Wolfe is Karen Page. It looks really good. Like, just from the, minute and a half trailer that we saw. I mean, I was going to watch it either way. I didn't have to see a trailer.
No.
You know. I've been a pretty big fan of the networks.
The Netflix.
The Netflixes. The Flixes of Nets.
The Flixes of Nets.
With the exception of a few things that I haven't seen, like Marco Polo or whatever.
I wasn't particularly interested in that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched Orange is the New Black and
I'm sorry, I still haven't seen.
House of Cards.
House of Cards is amazing. It's our favorite.
Yeah, and
Orange is the New Black, something I've been meaning to get around to for a while.
It's worth watch it critically. I think you need. That's funny. We watch all things critically.
Yeah.
There's no joy in anything.
We're those kind of assholes. Sorry.
There's no joy in anything that we do. But
that is not true.
Shut up. I take no joy in anything. You know that. I'm a nihilist. I believe in nothing.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck you with my nothingness.
You're a marshmallow covered in barbed wire.
I am adorable.
But more importantly, the marshmallow.
What did...
Dog.
What'd you do to my dog?
I didn't do anything to your dog. He has his...
Is he stuck?
We are currently experiencing some technical difficulties. Please stand by.
We'll edit. Boop! Yeah, like I said, I'm a fan of all their programming.
Yeah, their Netflix series have been pretty much amazing up until this point. So I have, and given the fact that Kevin Feige and the Marvel Studios, how they've been doing the MCU, I am very optimistic about the series.
Yeah, I was gonna see it no matter what happened, but just from the minute and a half trailer, I can definitely say the tone feels a little more appropriate than we saw from the last filmic adventure of Daredevil. It already looks more like a movie or like a television show than the last movie that came out.
Say what you will about the 2004 Daredevil, but you have to admit, Affleck was the bomb in Phantom's man.
Okay, well that goes without saying.
Okay, sorry, that was dumb. Sorry.
You're not sorry. He was the bomb in Phantoms. Anyway, it already looks more like a well put together, like gritty, like crime noir story, which feels appropriate.
It feels appropriate, and I really like the with the costume. I'm of two minds about the costume. On one hand, I really like the sort of allusions to the Zatoichi blind swordsman sort of thing. With the blindfold and everything else, but on one hand, I don't know, something about the tassels behind him, just the tassels of the bandana or whatever behind him, kind of bug me. I don't know why.
To me, I'm sitting there going, "Oh wait, Iron Fist."
Shit, yeah, you're right. It's Iron Fist. I didn't think about that. It's fucking Iron Fist. In profile, it looks like Iron Fist.
Yeah.
And since they're talking about doing an Iron Fist series, I'm wondering if that's just going to make it confusing for everybody. And if they do an Iron Fist series,
I imagine
catsuit or no catsuit.
You know, my vote is always catsuit.
Deep V catsuit, yes.
On everyone, forever. And also ballet flats.
Yes, ballet flats.
Yeah. You know, just fucking live it up, Danny Rand. Fucking you do you.
You do you.
But,
hold me closer, tiny dancer.
What was I gonna say? The NyQuil's taking me. It's over. Shut it down, Blaine. We've come too far. No.
Megan, we're only 6 minutes in.
Yeah, shut up. I don't think, I don't think that costume's gonna last long. That seems really silly. It's more like a pilot, maybe first episode or two. I'm not sure if we're gonna get full on like Daredevil horns.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen any of the production stills.
Yeah.
Past this first episode and like the trailer that we've seen so far.
Well, we don't know. That's because of the trailer. We don't know how the. I mean, obviously, this is the Daredevil origin story. I mean, obviously, we're seeing how this builds up. So. This might just be first year costume. It might change next season. If they're we don't know if they're doing. If this is going to be a mini or an ongoing series.
I don't know. I've heard talk either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was interesting, and I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yes.
Another thing I wanted to discuss, since it just came out on DVD.
Yes.
Blu-ray.
One of our favorite films of last year, John Wick.
Yeah, just bought it, rewatched it, because we saw it in theaters when it came out. Anyway, so this came out this past week. Bought it and rewatched it, and it's one of those things, like, I loved it so much when it came out, then so much happened to me over the holiday season, I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
And then when it came out and I saw it again, I was just overcome with excitement. Mm-hmm. Because this is one of those, like, that was like probably the most fun I had in the theater in a while. Because sadly, because of my comically duties, I am bound to see every comic book movie that comes out.
Yes.
So I end up pretty much chiefly going to the theaters to see comic book movies in order to write articles, do reviews, do podcasts, what have you. And so in terms of, it was one of two not comic book movies I saw last year, one being Nightcrawler, which I didn't really like.
Oh, yeah,
but
God.
But with the exception of the comic book movies, John Wick was was just the best experience I had in the theater last year.
It was the perfect vehicle for Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, exactly. I really liked, because it was an action movie, obviously, and it was a highly stylized action film, but it was still such an understated movie. Mm-hmm. And, like, everything was so low-key.
There was a great, low-key, irreverent yet serious quality to the movie that it seems like something difficult to balance. What it kind of reminds me of, although that one was definitely a little bit sillier, was Lucky Number 11.
Yeah.
This was a bit more subdued than that, but I thought it worked.
Well, it was a very serious and it was a very serious world that was grounded in very specific serious rules, but beyond those like social, niceties of social conventions, pretty much anything went in that movie.
Yeah,
and I really enjoyed it, and it was perfect for Keanu Reeves. Okay, look, everyone makes fun of Keanu Reeves. It's kind of like punching a blind kid. It's really easy to do. Maybe he had it coming. Shrug.
With some of the things, okay,
Maybe he's got some.
He has not made the best.
I'm talking about the blind kid.
I know. He has not.
Little Timmy knows what he's got coming to him.
He has not always made the best. Okay, he's not always been in the best movies, but can't argue that of everybody for making gold. But yeah, people like to make fun of Keanu Reeves for saying words. But I've always really liked Keanu Reeves. He's just a hardworking, really nice, laid-back guy, and gives all of his money, made Matrix money, and then gave most of that away.
Are we Keanu Reeves apologists right now?
Pretty much.
All right, I accept that.
I could, nothing else. Bill and Ted. And then one of our favorites, for various reasons, Johnny Mnemonic, back at one of the great, oh god, and we were
stupid ass cyberpunk 90s
Cyberpunk 90s, and we're just talking about actually a little bit. We're talking about similar sort of things of the
90s internet.
The 90s internet.
Oh my god.
Oh, I kind of miss the 90s filmmaking television depiction of the internet as opposed to now, just because there was something so wondrous and ridiculous about that.
It was like.
Whereas now it's just like it's mostly people awkwardly naked.
Okay, like the internet's ubiquitous now.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Everywhere, every facet of society, at least especially in the West, everything is about the internet. It's like people are Snapchatting and Facebooking and Instagramming and Twittering and everything else, tweeting, not tweeting, subtweeting.
For me, I always go, whenever you see people, like a row of people glued to the smartphones, I would always remember that line from Videodrome, "Long live the new flesh."
Yeah, but I just, it's like our relationship with the internet is very cynical now.
Yeah.
Now, but like in the 90s and stuff like Hackers, which, you have to appreciate for the hilarity.
It was hilarious then.
Yeah, it was
even
hilariously bad.
It was hilariously bad then. It's even more funny now.
The same with Johnny Mnemonic. It was just that sort of like wide-eyed, innocent. Oh, the internet is a magical place where anything can happen, and look at all these ports and cables and bits and bytes and packets. And JPEGs. They're just flying over us in a sea of JPEGs.
In a sea of JPEGs long before we knew the glory of the GIF.
Oh, yeah.
The GIF, the GIF, what have you.
Jife?
Jife.
That's a conversation for another day.
Not a conversation worth...
I still say GIF.
I still say GIF. That's not a conversation worth having.
Because
it's
I'm hooked on phonics, and that was the way we talked back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I still love that movie.
Man. Don't phonics, man.
I can't kick it.
I can't kick it, man. Suck your dick for a hominin, baby.
That movie, no matter how silly, no matter how much shit talking people do about it, I still enjoy. Same thing with most of Keanu Reeves' movies.
But yeah, for me...
They are terrible, but...
For me, Johnny Mnemonic, I want... room service.
Yeah.
I want the cold Mexican beer. I want the cold Mexican beer. I want the club sandwich. I want the $10,000 night hooker.
Yeah.
I want my shirts laundered like they do at the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo.
Yeah. His total emotional
his
breakdown.
his total emotional breakdown.
Like in the dump or whatever. I don't know.
I think they were standing on a bridge.
Was it a bridge? I just remember there being trash everywhere. Yeah. But it was the 90s future.
Yeah, it was the 90s future.
So of course there was trash everywhere.
Yeah.
And also there was Henry Rollins. It was complicated.
Henry Rollins. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload.
Oh, dolphin. Do you remember the dolphin?
I remember the dolphin. Oh shit, I forgot about
Had
the dolphin.
A laser on his head?
Yeah, literally a dolphin with laser. It was a mini satellite dish.
Was it? Okay, that's what
it was. A mini satellite dish attached to its head.
Okay, it's been a while since I've seen that, but I have warm and fuzzy memories of watching that. In middle school, being like, oh man,
this 90s, is the best.
90s future.
90s future.
But anyway, that's
Anyway, John Wick, deadpan silliness.
It's like an over-the-top, under-the-top revenge story.
Yeah.
You expect it to be much bigger and louder and dumber than it is. And it ends up being like this very, almost sort of quiet, well-paced world where people...
And that was the thing I really liked, that I was into the world so much with the Continental, the gold coins as the ubiquitous assassin's currency.
Yeah.
I really wanted, Ian McShane, all those people, they were just fantastic. I wanted to roll around in that world. I wanted to see so much more of that. I really hope there are sequels / prequels or whatever, because it feels like the third act of a 3-act sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go back, see how he came up, how he became the boogeyman, and then I guess the last one would be the middle where he retires to go up with his wife.
Yeah. It was a really well casted film, a very well acted film. Keanu Reeves, apologies aside, like I'm not even gonna get into that topic. Whatever. I'd like to admit it. Shut up. What I really enjoyed about the film were two things in particular. The fight choreography. Yeah. Which was, I felt very well grounded and felt very organic.
Yeah, the jujitsu, judo, gun-fu stuff going on.
Yeah, and it wasn't like... It wasn't full of like the really bad over-the-top cuts that you usually see like in American like action films, like where everything just feels very quick and fake, and it's all very like handy cam, and you're just like punches and nothing really means anything. It felt like you were actually watching people fight, and you saw cause and effect, like more than you would in like a lot of recent action films that I've seen.
And it reminded me, and obviously given the podcast, it reminded me a little bit of a comic book. Just the whole thing as a whole. It felt like a comic book.
The way it was paced, some of the transitions between
and the sheer fact that they had the dialogue. The little dialogue pop-ups and everything else. There was a comic book feel to it.
Yeah, and the way that certain text was so like emphasized, like almost like Windows clip art.
Yeah,
there's a gradient on this bitch. So you have to pay attention to this word. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was an interesting choice. It was a little distracting when I first saw it in the theaters. I was like, why is this like red and orange? Oh, whatever. I forgive it. It sort of, especially when like the color grading of everything else was like blue or purple.
Yeah,
it was just all very very like dark color. And so it was like the promotional art. It's all very like dark, like cool palettes, and they have these very warm text colors. I thought maybe that was supposed to be like a tie-in with the promotional art. They changed at the last minute. Maybe I don't know. Another thing I really loved was, like I said before about the color grading, was the color grading.
Yeah.
I mean, like...
the color grading!
The way that they utilized color in this film, especially that the scene in the Red Circle in the club.
The club scene.
And then the way they utilized sound, the way that, like, ambient...
Especially when they were in the pool section when he had that low key light I don't remember. I need to look at the name of that song. I really liked it. Just the fact that he had all this horrible, intense, quiet violence going on, all to this soft, quiet music.
Yeah, it's like trip hoppy kind of song.
Yeah, trip hoppy kind of thing.
I remember.
And it felt appropriate, especially because they made it feel like it felt like it was a song that was playing in the room where all this was happening.
Oh yeah, they utilized in-world sound very well.
Except
for the like where they're actually in the club and the dance floor shooting people, and then it all gets very loud and obnoxious.
But then again, that's also
because they're in the dance club. Loud and obnoxious.
With the exception, the only song that, as far as scoring, that really comes to mind was that I believe it was that Marilyn Manson song.
Yeah, they use that frequently with all the Willem Dafoe scenes.
Yeah, along with all the Willem Dafoe scenes.
Yeah.
But aside from that, most of the scoring gave an in-world, happening there. That was the sounds and whatnot going on in the space,
which I really enjoyed, because usually when you're watching an action film, everything just breaks down to this really shitty, loud dubstep nightmare, and everything is so loud, and the music is so loud, so all the yelling and the gunfire is amped up to 11 to compensate for that, for the soundtrack. And I'm like, I don't even know what's going on anymore, because I'm just hiding in the back of the theater waiting for it all to stop. Even if the fight choreography is any good, I'm like, I can't hear or care. It's over. I love the way that movie was shot. I love the action. I love the very like tense, minimalistic dialogue for the most part. Yeah. Everyone had their quips.
Little quips, but and I love that they had, just because the way that there was a subtle, I wouldn't say, there was a great deadpan humor going on throughout the movie. There was a dry wit throughout and humor throughout the movie.
Yeah, but it was set up by the shots, and set up by the action itself. It wasn't just catty dialogue. No. It was like physical humor, or humor that was set up within the logic of the film. Mm-hmm. And like, you had a setup, you had a payoff. And it was very funny. Like, I actually laughed out loud in the theater a couple times. I don't laugh at theater. At the theater. I don't laugh at movies. You know that.
Even when they're really funny.
I hate everything. I believe in nothing.
All right.
But yeah, no, I actually, like, if you haven't seen this movie, I absolutely.
Yeah, if you missed it in theaters, go out and buy it, because it's worth just outright buying.
I think so. Yeah, it was.
It's worth just outright buying. You could wait till hopefully it pops up on Netflix, but frankly, just go out and fucking get it. It's a great movie.
It was a fun movie, great action, great direction. The cinematography was great.
Yeah.
The sound design was I was impressed, because you don't really see or hear good sound design in action films, at least not American action films.
And you get to watch Keanu Reeves spend an hour and a half fighting with everything from his hands to guns to just whole cars. He's fighting with cars in this movie.
Yes. When you get to all the the car scenes and the car chases and all that action. It's like it's just because...
Well, it wasn't really car chases. The one really big car scene was right at the finale where he's it's instead of using as like a stupid chase or whatever, they just like no, he's using his car as a weapon.
Yeah, his car becomes an extension of himself in the fight, and that's that's fucking smart.
Yeah, it's
I really
fucking
loved
smart.
that. So I would definitely recommend it. I had a lot of fun watching it, even the second time around when I saw it.
Yeah.
As for our topic of the week, we're gonna move on to comics because that's the title of the podcast.
Comics with all that.
What you're probably here for. A lot of good stuff came out in the last couple of weeks. I didn't get a chance to talk about last week. And this was your favorite, The Dying of the Dead.
The Dying of the Dead. We're both very big Jonathan Hickman fans. God bless that man. I love him. And this new book, Dying in the Dead, from Image Comics, it's the second team up, I believe just the second team up with Jonathan Hickman and
Ryan
Bodenheim.
And also colorist Michael Garland.
Yeah, Michael Garland. They teamed up last time, I remember right, on this another Image book called Secret, which was a great, the best way I can put it, family drama espionage story. That's the best way I can sort of describe it. If that makes any sort of sense. Family drama espionage story around Cold War veterans and their new private security intelligence group. I believe Steadfast was
so.
If I remember, Steadfast was the name of that. There were random setbacks and whatnot with that book, so it seems like, I remember right, between issue 3 and 4, there was literally like almost a year and a half.
Yeah.
Which frustrates the hell out of me, but I'm used to this whenever I get into a book. Unfortunately, a lot of the times, just like Dr. Sleepless and Priest and some other things before.
Everything falls apart.
As soon as I get into it, it's like, I really get into a book, it starts falling apart. So I figured that's just part and parcel with this now. But it was a 7-issue series. I hope they bring those characters back for another adventure just because I really want to see that again.
Yeah. Now, I read this book. I bought it last week. I didn't get a chance to read it till this week because of school and work.
Other happenings, sickness.
Yeah, sickness, obviously. And lots of other projects I had going on. But I finally read it this week, and it's a trip. It's hard to explain, honestly.
It kind of reminds me of a sort of...
I'll let you handle this, because I'm still I've pondered on it for 3 days. I'm still a little lost.
Best way to kind of describe it, a sort of a weird, slightly weirder version of Indiana Jones, almost. This retired army colonel whose wife is dying of cancer is made an offer by these... I wouldn't say... Oh, they're definitely not... extra they're not aliens because they live on Earth, but it's this race of people that live in this underground cavern city civilization. A lot of the imagery and things that they're bringing up and references they make to biblical imagery and actually pre-biblical imagery kind of reminds me of ancient Mesopotamian stuff from like Epic of Gilgamesh, Sumerian, Babylonian stuff. If I remember correctly, they're kind of the Jonathan Hickman might be basing this on, or supposing that this would be the race that myths like the Anunnaki and all the rest of that were based off of. That they are the people that gave us information, technology, and pushed all this forward. But they're not aliens necessarily, although they are in the book clearly white-skinned. I mean, just straight up white.
Yeah, they're very otherworldly. They're very ghostly.
Very ethereal.
I'm reminded a little bit of Tarsem Singh's The Fall.
Yes.
And a lot of the imagery and just the pacing of it. It's a little, I would say, a little non-linear. It's just sort of hard to tell where you are.
I know it's linear, but it's just bouncing a couple perspectives a little bit.
Yeah, it is. I liked it. I'm just a little
also reminds me a little bit of Iron Sky, just because there are Nazis and their weird plans.
Oh, and cloning. A lot of clones.
Nazi cloning, bizarre clone master race business going on. Going after ancient artifacts, and on the cover, the main character, I forget his name at the moment, but he's actually looks like he's holding the Spear of Destiny, Lance of Longinus, whatever you want to call it, the blade that pierced Christ's side.
Well, yeah, because they make references to the Tree of Life and a lot of things like that.
I'm guessing maybe that's what was in that box.
Yeah.
A box is stolen by in the beginning of the book. It opens with a wedding and narration about love and marriage and how even the best kept promises, the best well-intentioned promises break down because it's something you can't hold on to. And that's sort of a theme that they continue when you get to. I'm guessing that the narration actually might be from the Colonel himself.
I would assume.
That's why it's coming from. But anyway, it's this wedding on this island. The couple retire to the room when this battalion of masked guys breaks in, starts shooting up the place, get into the newlyweds' room. Anyway, so they storm the island, break into the newlyweds' room, hold them hostage. Turns out the wife is working for them. He gets the ring, shoots him, gets the ring off of him, opens this secret door behind a mirror to this little vault of stuff, and the thing in particular is this box, which they then take back to their secret base. After that, like I said, hook up with the Colonel. His wife's dying. He's made an offer by these people. Obviously, he has a history with them, particularly with this one character referred to as the Bishop. And basically, he's tasked to get back whatever that was in that box that was stolen. At this point, I'm guessing Spear of Destiny because I was on the freaking cover. And it makes sense. Nazis, rumors about the Nazis supposedly trying to go after the Spear of Destiny, or supposedly had that, which led to their ability to, conquer Europe and all the rest of that. Conspiracy nonsense, wibbly wobbly. Anyway, but yeah, definitely an interesting book. I really want to see where this is going. This feels like a great... this feels like the start of a really good, interesting adventure story that has, as Jonathan Hickman always does, weightier, hard questions, heavy themes, but framed, looks like it's, teeing up a pretty good adventure story, and I really want to see how this turns out.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by the premise. I love Jonathan Hickman a lot. East of West Manhattan Projects.
East of West Manhattan Projects, the crazy shit. Literally world-colliding shit he's been doing at Marvel for the last year with New Avengers.
Yeah, with Avengers and New Avengers. I had to fall off the wagon a little bit because it was all getting sucked into these, huge, title-spanning arcs and summer events, and I like his writing a lot. I just kind of... I don't like the constraints placed on him by, events and stuff, because you see, these germs, these amazing ideas that, he gets to play out so far, and then it's event, infinity, here we go.
And then he has to wind down or hold off on some of the stories he wants to do.
Yeah, exactly. So he does... I love to see his work on Image because he's pretty much just given free reign. The one book that I really would have loved to see more from was Secret, you mentioned before.
It felt like that, something happened that felt like it needed to be tied up quickly.
Well, yeah, from what I understood, they, the artist Ryan Bodenheim just could not complete it. They didn't want to change artists. I could be wrong, this is just what I read. They didn't want to change artists, so they just decided to print what they had, tie it up as best they could, and then just walk away. That was why I was so excited to see that entire creative team back with this book, because
fingers crossed, no setbacks this time.
Yeah, no setbacks. Everyone stay alive. Get your shit straight.
Because I am as intrigued about this as I was about Secret when I first picked it up.
Yeah, because the script's good. I enjoy that. Some of the exposition is a little long-winded for my taste.
But also, it's the kind of thing that's just it feels like, okay, first issue, and this is a long issue. This is something 40-some-odd pages, I think. Around 40 pages or so. And it feels like they're trying to set up as much as they can to give you a good footing about the world and what's going on.
Yeah.
So, when that happens, things can get a little crowded, a little stuffy.
Yeah.
But I can forgive that.
Yeah. For me, the main draw is Bodenheim and Garland, artists and the colorists, because the imagery is so intense and detailed, and I don't like to say epic, but epic.
Mm-hmm.
When you see the
it has a great moody feel.
Yeah, just the what is this? The cavern that they live in?
Yeah, the underground city.
Yeah, you just have so many complex organic shapes interwoven with these metropolitan scenes and these metropolitan developments.
Reminded me a lot of ancient, it was old architecture from Greece and Mesopotamia and such.
And the way it's all woven together is really fascinating, and a lot of what you would consider conflicting angles. And, this is a very unreal place, but it's so this wonderfully rendered and so highly detailed, and the colors and textures are so the Garland's palette choices are very haunting. They're very cold. just like you read it, you just feel like you're walking in on something that you were not meant to see, and I really enjoy that.
Especially on that scene where he's in the hospital room with his wife.
Yeah.
And the courier.
Yes.
I believe his name was is aping what the doctor's about to say right before he says it. I thought it was really funny because he was right there, so I'm guessing they can mask their appearance from people or hide because he was clearly in the room.
Yeah.
And then disappeared and then came back.
Yeah. For the perspective of the doctor, anyway.
For the perspective of the doctor, anyway. So I'm guessing these people can hide their shapes. Anyway, they get the sense pretty much that these are old, ethereal, powerful people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily immortal, but they got something going on.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not 100% into the scripting. Like, that's going to take me a little time to warm up to. But I'm very intrigued by the imagery, by the concept, and just artwork in general. So I would definitely recommend the Dying of the Dead if you're into that. If you're into Hickman, if you're mourning the loss of Secret as we are, definitely worth picking up. So that's definitely one of our books of the week.
Next up, we have Nameless, the new book. I believe it's a six-issue miniseries by Grant Morrison and Chris Burnham of Batman Incorporated. Obviously, that famous book of the last couple of years. I've read a little bit of Batman Inc. I tend to stay away from Cape books at this point. Although what I've read of Grant Morrison's work in the last couple of years with All Star Superman and such, I have enjoyed. Making Superman God. I don't necessarily agree with all those choices, but hey, what happens? Writer's decision.
Yeah.
As we all know, Grant Morrison has very intense Superman feels.
Yes, very, very intense. This book is like I knew nothing of this. Honestly, I saw the ad in the back of.
Yeah, we've been seeing. I hadn't heard about this book at all. I just saw the ads for it. We both just seen the ads for it in the back of Image Books over the last month or so.
Yeah, and I did zero research. I was like, oh hey, Grant Morrison and Chris Burnham. I'm gonna pick that up.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it was coming out. I had no fucking idea.
Yeah,
this
she
is
saw
how
it
little I research things.
She saw it on the shelf yesterday.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, let me pick this up because the cover is just. Oh my god, yes.
If you haven't seen the cover of this, it's three dudes in astronaut spacesuits covered in esoteric sigils, each of them different. If I remember, the guy in the middle, I believe it's a Buddha symbol. It doesn't matter, but yeah, they're three dudes in spacesuits covered in glowing sigils just walking towards the page. Yeah, it just looks badass with the Nameless across the top. It just, as far as the book itself, we follow a character named, literally, Nameless. He's sort of, I would say, somewhere between John Constantine and Indiana Jones a little bit.
In the loosest
in the loosest, okay, yeah. I wouldn't say Indiana Jones. I would just say someone who's just like shifting around the dark, stealing metaphysical objects and artifacts and such.
Yeah.
And in that aspect, Indiana Jones always came across magical items. So yeah, Indiana Jones a little bit, but
with the exception of there's no talk of a museum.
There was no talk of museums. None of the stuff he ever caught ended up in a museum anyway. So
he was just this shifty ass white guy that was like robbing indigenous populations of their priceless artifacts.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is the beautiful like history of archaeology, but that's neither here nor there. This is a book that, like, I was sitting there reading it yesterday, and I was just so excited by everything that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I really can't tell you what happened. Like, I've read it twice, and it moves between, like, dream states, real states.
Dream states with fishmen and veiled ladies with symbiotes or parasites latched to her head, controlling the fishmen. There's something called a dream key. We don't know what that was for.
And you're only aware of where you are by Nameless telling you, oh, no, we're in real life now. Or, oh, this is a dream. And you're sitting there like, I don't know if I can trust you. Because he is, like, the most interesting of unreliable narrators.
Yeah, the book is filled with the narration is very much, sort of feels like a stream of consciousness, very loose sort of narration from Nameless. And in the book, Grant Morrison, we get the some of the metaphysical weirdness that we've come to expect from Grant Morrison's non-contracted work. Anyway, his original stuff always tends to be on the weirder side. Obviously, with his own, if anyone knows about like Grant Morrison's seen the documentary and all the rest of that, he's delved around a lot of drugs and weird chaos magic and stuff. So this is part and parcel for him. Basically, after being contracted to steal this dream key, or at least get a good look at it and basically break into this veiled lady's dream, get a good look and a hold of this dream key thing, and remember enough details for people to make a 3D print of it in real life. I don't know how.
I'm not sure
how that would actually help it do anything, but literally he has enough details like, oh, okay, this will be enough for you to make a, he's literally shushing this woman for him to make, for him to remember enough details to do this sketch of it, to make a 3D printing of this dream key thing. I wouldn't be sure how that would do anything or help anything, but now I comics, and now I kind of want one. Now I kind of want a dream key. Hopefully, if this picks up some steam and people get interested in that they're going to make 3D printed dream keys. Yes, if that's the case,
for all of us to enjoy.
For all of us to enjoy, in which case I want one because I like random stupid props like that.
Yeah, it's basically the end of the world. And this guy is tripping through space and time or something.
Oh, well, he's tripping through dreams for the first half of the... No, he's tripping through dreams for the first half of the book.
Yeah.
And afterwards, he basically, shit on Earth. They haven't given him too much detail, but it seems like shit on Earth has gotten really hinky over the last couple years. A lot of occult business.
Ritualistic
suicides, mass shootings, chaos... wars, shit's getting bad. This is,
end of days.
Basically Revelation sort of times. And while the world is in turmoil, this group of pretty much billionaires are setting up a private space program to tackle this one particular issue. There's this massive asteroid hurtling towards Earth. And this group, what do they call them? Billionauts?
I think so.
I believe they call them billionauts in the book, have hired Nameless here, who is referred, like I said, same thing with Grant Morrison, the old magical tradition. It's believed in old esoteric traditions not to give your true name, because if someone has your name, they have power over you and all the rest of that. And like I said, so he's a little bit of a John Constantine character, a little shady, sliding around, nefarious past, as I imagine we will learn more of as the series progresses. But basically, he is contracted to steal the dream key or get enough information about it as a test to see, test his merit. And afterwards, they tell him about the real plan, the real job that they need him for, which is to go into space and to deal with a massive asteroid, which is like 6 miles high, or 16 miles high, they said 3 miles wide, and on the front of it is a massive sigil, which as they... similar to the Ouroboros, but with a line going down the center of it, which they describe as the antimatter door that will open... they're believing that if it collides with Earth, that it will open a doorway to this place, Xibalba, if I remember correctly, which is the ancient Mayan underworld, roughly translated to, I believe, the place of fear. I have to look that up again, but yeah, roughly the place of fear. A little bit rusty on Mayan... legends and mythology, but anyway, so basically this is Armageddon, but with John Constantine instead of Bruce Willis.
And nothing is real and everything sucks.
Nothing is real and everything sucks, yes.
I really enjoyed this issue. I really, like I said, I went into it with absolutely no concept of what it was about.
Nope.
I just saw who was working on it. I was like, oh, I'm going to buy this book. I didn't even know what
I kept forgetting Grant Morrison was on it until you picked it up yesterday. Oh yeah, that's right, it's Grant Morrison.
Yeah, the art is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Chris Burnham, I really, really enjoy his artwork a lot. The imagery is so dense and lovely and detailed. Yeah, the scripting is great. I really I've always admired Morrison's use of language, descriptive language, and all of his narrative captions and such. I really like Nameless a lot. He is such a shitty, very ambiguous and questionable guy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, he's upfront with the fact that he's a shit guy.
Yeah.
This is a shit situation. Don't trust me, but don't trust anything else that's happening. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't really care what happens at this point. I'm so interested.
I just want to watch Nameless roll around.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I really can't tell you what's happening, and I don't really care to. I'm just really, really enjoying the imagery, and I'm enjoying the pacing of it. I'm enjoying the dialogue. Like, this is like a book that I enjoy like on every level. Yeah. So I highly, highly recommend this one. Nameless. Grant Morrison, Chris Burnham, Image Comics. Definitely worth picking up. I wouldn't even wait for a trade.
No.
I would just start buying it weekly. If you can. If you can.
All of these, well, Nameless, well, I'm not sure with Nameless just because it will be collected. It's a mini, so it will be collected anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a little bit hesitant, you could wait for a trade, but I would suggest picking up that and Dead and Dying just immediately. Along with this next book that we're going to be talking about. Yep. One of our favorites of the last few months.
Yep, C.O.W.L. Another Image book, because I feel like Image owes me a check at this point for as much just jizzing on the internet that I do for them. C.O.W.L, most of the books that I buy, I did not have any concept of what it was about. Someone said, "Hey, you should read this." I think it was you.
Yeah. I mean, same thing with that. I literally saw the
first issue cover. I thought,
I saw the first issue cover, which was an ad in the back of another Image book last year. I just went, I have no idea what the hell this is about, but I want to pick it up.
Yeah.
C.O.W.L, the Chicago Organized Workers League.
The 8th issue just came out. This is the second issue of their second arc. The first arc wrapped up a couple months ago. This is a book that not a lot of people are reading, I've noticed, like when I go online and talk about it, or I should say just masturbate about it into the wilds of the internet. I don't get a lot of feedback on that, but hey,
I'm hoping this turns into a sleeper hit.
Yeah, no, it is, it's like
they literally commissioned a jazz soundtrack for it, which I think is fantastic. If I remember right, it was Bear McCreary worked on it, and he did the great composition work for Battlestar Galactica.
That sounds right. I love, everyone who follows me on the internet knows that I love Kate books. I love Kate book deconstruction. I love superhero mythos.
And we love Cold War weirdness as well,
exactly.
Which we got all of that rolled up in this lovely little bundle.
Yeah. I love this book because it is we all talk about reinventing the wheel when it comes to, this new book is coming out, going to change superhero comics. This new book is going to change everything. But this is a great, quiet little title that takes a hard look at superhero mythology and goes, you know what, though? Like, but what about the realities of government oversight and accountability and transparency and all those things that, like, Civil War for Marvel Comics attempts to talk about?
Yeah, but they do that with lots of punching and monologues.
Poorly conceived opera.
And poorly conceived opera, whereas this, it's doing it in a slow, simmering, like a crock pot way. And as the story has gone along, you've felt the pressure of the city building up slowly and slowly. I mean, pop goes the weasel when everything melts down. Yeah. That's coming.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is coming. And that's gonna be so good when it happens. But it's like we were watching this slowly build up over the last few months.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with the title, shame on you. But I'm gonna tell you about it anyway. It's the 1960s Chicago. We're talking the height of political corruption and the mob and all of the Cold War. And we have American idealism. We have all of these dreams. We have a series about the political ramifications of superheroes in the real world, or as real as we're going to get it.
Yeah.
Superheroes are unionized. They're an offshoot of the Chicago Police Department. They have their own union. They have their own commissioner. They have their own internal structure and abide by their own rules, but are still bound to the citizens of Chicago and to the police department.
The mayor as well.
The mayor, yeah. So it's not caped vigilantes running around doing whatever they want. Yeah. There are rules, there's oversight. They have to be responsible for the things that they do and the people that they kill and the buildings that they destroy.
There is at the same time oversight, but at the same time you're watching how things are getting swept under the rug for this and that.
Because it is at heart a political thriller in a lot of ways. It's also sort of a crime detective noir story. Yeah. Dealing with the internal corruption of the Chicago Police Department, of the mayor's office.
C.O.W.L in and of itself.
Yeah, C.O.W.L in of itself.
And of the chief, Gregory Warner.
Yeah, Jeffrey Warner.
Jeffrey Warner, sorry, not Greg. Jeffrey Warner.
Yeah. It's there's a lot going on. It's a dense story for only being 8 issues in.
And the dense story, it opened up 8 issues ago, or 7 issues ago, with the first book opened up with C.O.W.L, their big strike team, Arclight, Radia, and what was his name? Arclight, Radia, and Blaze, their big strike force team, taking down the last member of the Chicago Six, which is the obviously allusion to the Sinister Six, the big supervillain group that had been plaguing Chicago for like the last 15 years at that point.
I think so.
Thereabouts. So after he died, C.O.W.L is their contract with the city is about to go into renegotiations. Things fall through, which is why now they're currently on strike. Along the same time, people are starting to basically after that, especially after the last member of the Chicago Six is taken out, people are wondering how necessary or useful C.O.W.L is, and that's what Warner's afraid of. And so when it comes to the renegotiation, shit falls through. And even though you could see on one hand Jeffrey Warner wants to, it's like he's interested in protecting, his people, superpowers and members of C.O.W.L, and doesn't want them necessarily falling directly into just police jurisdiction. He wants someone particular in their corner. It becomes clear very quickly that he's ultimately up to no good, and as the story progresses, you learn that he has been feeding information and technology to particularly this one crime lord in Chicago, Camden Stone, who had been using people with powers as thugs and goons for years, but now is building towards, as with the renegotiations and everything else. Anyway, he ends up making a deal with Camden Stone to feed him intelligence, armaments, and give him everything he needs to basically prop up a handful of his superpowered thugs to be the new roster of supervillains to plague the city, basically as an excuse to keep C.O.W.L relevant.
What I really enjoy about this is that it takes the shiny veneer of like 1960s comics, of Cape books, and looks at the seedy underbelly of what American life would have been like in a corrupt city under a corrupt mayor with a corrupted police department. With
superpowers as a ubiquitous thing at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it kind of takes the piss out of superheroes because with a few exceptions, I don't think any of them actually have natural powers, or a handful of them do, but a lot of them come from technology.
Oh, I would say it's half are technology, half are regular powers.
Like naturally occurring powers. So you have like it's like 50-50 X-Men and super science.
Yeah.
Of like you have some very familiar archetypes within the roster. You can definitely see the homages from like classic.
Very clearly, Jeffrey Warner is very much an homage to Night Owl from Watchmen.
Yeah, Night Owl 1.
Night Owl 1 specifically.
Yeah. I really can't stop thinking and talking about this comic, though. I love everything about it, from Kyle Higgins and Alex Siegel doing the story to Rod Reis doing the art.
Yeah, Rod Reis's art has been just fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
It has this great ethereal noirish tone.
Yeah.
Because it's sparse and yet layered at the same time. And it shifts. And the coloring and lighting, it shifts even within a scene, but it always feels purposeful.
Yeah.
And the coloring, like I said, the coloring in the background, everything shifts, and similar to the way Bodenheim and the colors, Bodenheim and Garland did a similar thing as coloring and lighting shifts in tone of conversation and what's going on.
Yeah, every character has like a specific palette that they relies on. What really intrigues me about this book is the concept of the superhero narrative. Jeffrey Warner is very deeply concerned with the idea of the hero narrative. You see that with his dealings with Stone, because as things fall apart, and not just with negotiations with the mayor's office, but also within his own team, and because our good friend Vincent Price, John Sharp.
I forgot to mention before, he was the one who was, as we learned about Jeffrey Warner's corruption, he's rooting around and seeing that these thugs have basically C.O.W.L blueprints for weaponry and other things, and he's wondering how it leaked out. And it leads back to Warner.
Yeah.
And he's taken out for it.
Yeah, but as we discover, he's not entirely without blame himself.
I mean, and the way literally the dude looks like Vincent Price, and he's that classic noir detective. They didn't elaborate until the last issue. You get very much the sense that dedicated cop and all the rest of that, but shady past and blah blah blah. Standard noir stuff, but always fun. You always want to roll around it. And we find out last week when Detective Helen Mirren.
Yes, exactly.
There's this basically the C.O.W.L liaison with the police department.
Yeah, Evelyn Thompson.
Evelyn Thompson. She looks just like fucking Helen Mirren, who was Vincent Price's best cop friend.
Yep.
Goes to his wife Sarah, and tells her that she's known for years of John's past life as one of the Chicago Six.
Yeah. So
they haven't yet elaborated how he moved over from villain to chief investigator for C.O.W.L, but yeah, they very clearly set him up as an interesting martyr figure. And something. Oh, and not even say necessarily a martyr figure. Just his death is going to be a point of contention going forward for all the members of C.O.W.L and the police department, and just for the citizens in general. Yeah. As things, I'm guessing as things, as the new crop of supervillains start running amok. Because, so far in the book, there's definitely a hesitance around Jeffrey Warner as far as the public is concerned, but they haven't looked too closely. There's just the general notion of how necessary is C.O.W.L now, but I'm thinking that Carl and Catherine, as things progress, because they have their own vendetta against Camden Stone and everything else, and with John's death, that I imagine they're gonna follow his path and start turning shit over.
I think so, but
they're gonna start putting the heat on Warner soon.
Well, yeah, because Warner just told the both of them to sit out.
Shut the fuck up and do your job.
Yeah, do what I tell you. But to get back on track, though, what I really, really like, because it wasn't this last issue; it was issue 6.
Yes.
Joffrey Warner's origin story as the first hero of Chicago, the first.
Grey Raven.
Grey Raven, yes. As a Grey Raven. The idea of publishing issue 6 as an issue in the style of a 1960s comic, published as a 1960s comic, complete with the tea stains
and fake advertisement. The mock covers 60s style for other Image books coming out.
Yeah, the art style, the writing, and the coloring, and everything being just in step with a traditional 1960s comic, serving as an artifact of the world that the story operates in. Mm-hmm. The idea that him, allowing Image Comics, who exists in Chicago in 1962, to publish a comic about his heroic origins at the time where he's at his probably lowest point politically.
Oh yeah.
Personally, to put this in the hands of children who still
admire
him and look up to the idealism of superheroes. But I love so much the idea of him trying to preserve his legacy as a hero by doing it in a comic book. Mm-hmm. When he is in fact a comic book character in a comic book world about superheroes. I love that. And that the idea of the superhero narrative is really, really capitalized with his dealings with Stone, because when things fall apart, in order to secure the need for C.O.W.L going forward, as he begins negotiating with Stone to put superpowered thugs back on the street in a big way, starts orchestrating big high profile kidnappings of public figures and just shocking displays of violence and crime and everything. To create the public need for heroes by conspiring with ultimately his arch nemesis, and he's very self-aware, almost fourth wall breaking conversations between them, talking about the nature of the narrative and the need for heroes in a world that doubts their sincerity and their necessity.
And that one thing I love, because it's set in the 60s during a big moment in the Cold War and everything else, it draws a parallel to the sheer nature that there was a great deal of us propping up the U.S. government, the West propping up the Red Scare. Not to say that there was no threat whatsoever, but It was more bark, less bite.
And when you look at the history of superhero comics dating back to especially World War II, when they were used as U.S. propaganda to, sell war bonds and, talk about the commie threat and the Nazis and the Japanese and just talk about all this, I love that level of self-awareness that this comic has.
This book, it knows exactly what it is, and it seeks to, as an experiment, playing with genre conventions and tropes, but playing it in a slow simmer crockpot sort of way where everything's building up slowly in intensity.
Yeah, it's kind of like House of Cards of superheroes. Like, that's probably the closest analogy I can make, because it is a political thriller.
Yeah.
It is a slow build up, slow burn story where you just see all of these threads just begin to unravel, and it's up to your not so heroic Joffrey Warner to keep the lid on the chaos that is, about to spill over in the not so quiet streets of Chicago.
I like that it's a multi-perspective book, and so we're bouncing around from character to character. Jeffrey Warner's also obviously a big thing because he's in charge of C.O.W.L, but we're spending a lot of time with Catherine and Carl as well.
Yeah.
And now Tom Arkwright in this issue, as he more or less cops a plea in self-defense about killing John.
Yeah. The one character I want to see more from is Blaze.
Yeah.
Reginald Davis.
Yeah, he's Jeffrey Warner's second.
Yeah, we've seen very little of him, except for like one or two issues.
There are a couple issues where he was prominent. I believe him and his sister and his nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how self-aware the book is. I love how it deals with it sheds a light and also sort of undermines our perception of 1960s America, because they deal with sexism, they deal with racism a little bit. But I mean, it's not heavy-handed, but
it feels appropriate.
It feels appropriate because it's like you look at characters like Radia and you expect her. It is, you can't help but think of like stuff like Mad Men.
Yeah.
Which takes place in the 60s. In dealing with sexism and office politics, and you can't help but think of stuff like that. But like they paint her as this sort of passive, good-natured, like she's just the girl on the team.
Yeah.
She's almost like the mascot. You know, she poses for photos and does.
I believe it was in the first issue they were. They were doing, because after they took down the last man of Chicago 6, they were doing a little magazine spread, and they were talking to Arclight and talking about the battle and everything else that happened. She was gonna, I was right there when it happened, and pretty much took him down single-handedly herself. And so, I can give input. I was like, I don't know, we'll just stick to makeup tips and cooking with you, honey. Don't worry about it. So it's like,
Yeah, everyone else is talking about strategy and, heroic fights and the political crisis of Chicago, and she's talking about makeup and recipes.
Makeup tips, and they're talking about her new hairdo and her new costume.
Yeah.
That's what they want to talk to her about. And so she's just like choking it in, and it's just like, And that's when she hooks up with Carl and starts knocking heads with Candace Owens. It's like, okay, time to be a superhero. Fuck the rest of this shit.
Yeah, because you expect her to kind of be like a passive, like, Sue Storm kind of character. Who's
she's one of the most powerful...
she's just there to support the guys.
When she's one of the most powerful members of C.O.W.L, period.
Yeah. Which was the same thing with Sue Storm. People tend to remember her, even though she's still around, unless she died or anything. I mean, she's probably died. But people tend to paint, like, all female heroes as these sort of, like, passive...
And she's very clearly a Sue Storm stand-in.
Yeah.
To the point of, the similarities with her costume.
And her hair. And
the costume, her hair, and everything. Yeah. She's very clearly allusions to Sue Storm.
Yeah. But, no, I there are a few books I really enjoy, like, wholeheartedly, like, issue to issue. And just the self-awareness of the book, the homage to genre convention and the things that have gone on before, and aware of its own history.
Yeah.
And, taking a couple, like, well-timed pot shots where they can, but for the most part, playing it very straight, playing it as a noir crime story. And a political thriller that just happens to operate through the lens of superhero fiction.
Yeah, a very layered political drama and character drama.
Because if this were a 1960s noir film without any of the superpowers, this would totally play.
Yeah.
Like, even if they packaged this as a comic book today without the superpowers, it would totally play. It would be very fascinating to watch. But the fact they do it through the lens of superhero fiction and the archetypes and playing with the themes of the heroic narrative just is really fascinating. Issue to issue. If you're not reading C.O.W.L, I absolutely suggest it. I
would say, I mean, even though, well, the other two that we read today, Nameless and Dying in the Dead, just started, so we need to see where those go. But C.O.W.L is 8 issues in now, and wholeheartedly recommend it. I think they're coming out with the first trade here in the next month or so.
Yeah, I was going to say, the first trade should be out.
The first trade should be out soon. If it's not already out, I can't remember. But yeah, definitely go pick that up. This book is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I really, really enjoy it. I highly recommend it. I can't stop talking about it, but alright, so for our comics of the week, Dying of the Dead, Nameless, and C.O.W.L, definitely books you should look into. Yeah, just really good work from Image all across the board. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think we're pretty much good. Time to hop on the Nyquil train and say goodnight, kids.
Alright, well, on that note, I will see you all later. You were just listening to Comic Squared with Magen Cubed. As always, I am joined by my meat shield Blaine, and I'll see you all later.
Deuces!
Bye, everybody!
Here's the crime!